Hey class, this is Dr. Ryan Bradshaw coming to you for the week of March 19th. This is for my Business 230 students, Small Business Management. And this week we are working on financial plans and projections for the first 12 months of your business. And so this is one of those assignments where it's one of the more challenging assignments because you have to put some thought into what type of cash flow you're going to have. What type of incomes you're going to have, and what type of payables that you're going to have for your first 12 months. And so in order to make this assignment more easily manageable for you, I have identified this 12-month cash flow analysis document that I'm going to provide to you in the Moodle shell. And so I'm going to walk through this a little bit, just give you some ideas of what I'm looking for. And then you'll have the next few days to go in and start plugging in some numbers that you think would be reasonable for your business type and industry. All right, so this is the calendar. As we see, we've got the financial plans and projections this week. Next week is an easier assignment to kind of balance out the difficulty of the financial plan assignments. And next week's assignment has to deal with just developing an organizational chart of how your organization will look. Some of these organizations are very simple, very non-hierarchical, very flat, and so you won't have any problems developing that. And even if you do have a hierarchy structure where there's multi-levels, that's still not a problem. And then as you can see, next week the campus is closed on Good Friday, and then we will have spring break where there's no assignments due. And then right when we come back from that, we'll have summer and fall priority registration back to back. And so a lot of things happening in April. And by the time we get done with 2 weeks of registration, we'll have 2 more assignments coming up after the break. And then we'll be right in the red zone, so to speak, to finish the semester out. So after we get back from break, we've really only got just a few more short weeks before we get to the end of the semester. And so time is of the essence. We are getting close to the end. But enough of that review. Let's take a look at this financial planner that I've identified for you guys to help you kind of get on the right track here. And so let me delete this out just to kind of start from scratch. Okay, this is a 12-month cash flow analysis. I'm going to provide this blank Excel document to you, and you'll basically go in and start plugging in numbers based on what you believe are reasonable cash inflows and cash on hand, and then going through and talking about your rent and other expenses. So let's just look at how I want you to fill this out. So you'll come in, enter your company, enter your company name here, and then the fiscal year, fiscal being financial year starting, we're just going to say, using January as a good time to start, but if you're planning to start your business at another date, that's fine too. I'm not going to argue with that. What you would do if you are planning to start at another date, let's say we change this date for everybody to January 19, but you say, well, I didn't want to start in January because of this reason, because my business might be seasonal or I won't have everything together by then. And keep in mind this is all hypothetical, but still, you say for whatever reason I want to open up in June or July, you would just come and identify June or July of 19 and then put your projections based on those months down the column, and then wrap back around to January 20, which will be the year after. So it will be like July 19 through January of 2020, and then February 2020. That way you'll still end up with a 12-month wrap of cash flow analysis, or seeing where your cash is coming in, cash you have on hand, and purchases and things like this. So keep in mind, this assignment is designed to kind of get your brains churning as to making you aware of these types of things that you'll have to keep in mind as a business owner. You have to figure out, okay, how much cash do I have in the bank? How much cash do I have coming in? How much cash is it going to take to run my business? And so these are things that business owners and managers have to be aware of, have to be cognizant of. And so let's just assume, let's say I'm going to go in and change this right here to 2019, just as an example. So right there, and automatically populated all that up. So this Excel spreadsheet is preloaded with a lot of good data already put into it. And let's say I start January 19th, and let's say that I have $50,000 on hand, which is amazing, starting out. And so it's automatically going to populate that up and edit these columns as I go through. And let's say that, depending on what I'm selling, let's say I'm opening up a hamburger shop, and every day I do about $4,000 in sales. So on a 30-day stretch, what does that end up being? About $120,000 in sales. Is that correct? So I think so. 4,000, 30 days. Yeah, 120,000. That's a lot of burgers being sold. 120,000. And so let's say for the first year, I start out. That's my projection for January. I'm planning to do 4,000, and let's say that my sales growth, I want to keep developing and growing my business. By year end, let's say I want to reach $5,000 in sales each month. So what I would do, so that would be a 25% increase in business over the course of the year. So what I would do is take that 25% increase, so which would be $1,000 a day in sales. So we want to go from 4,000 a day to 5,000 a day in sales. So in order to do that, I'm going to take that 120,000. I'm doing some math on my calculator here. Take that 120,000 where I'm at, and I want to increase it by 25%. So I multiply it times 1.25. I end up with 150,000. So over the course of 12 months, I need to increase $25,000 total. So divide that out by 12 months. Let's see. How can I stagger that? Let's see. 25,000 divided by 12. So it ends up basically being, you're shooting for around a $2,000 or so increase per month over. That's where you want to get to, where you're doing that kind of motion. Well, it may take you some time to get to that 5,000. So let's say the math I got was $2,083. So divided by 12. So every month you want to have an additional increase of about $174 a day. I'm sorry. Actually, yeah, let's see. Yeah, $173 a day will get you to that extra $2,000 I mentioned. So let me see. And so basically, we want to factor that in and get to the point where we're showing that increase over time. And so, let's see, by December, I want to be at 150,000 a month, I said. So I'll plug that in. And you'll see these numbers shift over time. Let's see. Actually, the math was $30,000. So let me refactor that real quick. So 30,000. There we go. Divided by 12 months. So 2,500. That's going to increase $30,000. And let's see. 12 equals. So we're going to have some increases of about 2,500 a month. That's the math as it works out to get us to where we want to be. So the next month, we're going to have sales increase to 22,500. And I'm just doing it this way for me. You may have something different, that comes something, you may have a different way you want to approach this. So then the next month we have another 2,500 increase, and we just keep going with that until, let's see, then we get to 25, and then we get to 12,700. Yeah. Oh, wrong place though. 7,500. And then from there we go to 130,000. And then from there we go to 130, 250. I hope you see the logic of what I'm doing here. started with an estimate, 4,000 a day, 120,000 a month, and I said I wanted to end up gaining 25%, which is a huge jump first year. But I'm figuring first year sales, it should be on fire. That's what my hope is as a eager and ready to go entrepreneur with a new business. So I'm hoping for that big pop first year, word of mouth, a lot of fresh market to explore. So I'm hoping to get that first year pop. So what I'm just continuing to do now is increasing my monthly by that $2,500 amount that I'm trying to just go after each month a little bit more to get me to the point where I have that overall month-over-month increase. So that takes us to 137.50, and then we're at 140,000, and then we're at 42500. The math is, hang on a second, 1, 4, 5, and I'm missing a factor in here. Let me look at where I missed something. Did I duplicate something? So 22.5, 25, 27.50, 3, 32, 35, 37.50, 40, 42, 45. Okay, I'm going to leave it here, but there is something not quite like I would like it. But keep in mind, once again, this is hypothetical. So I'm presenting these numbers, and as long as they are realistic projections, I'm not going to dispute that. So let's say this, at the very end, I have a big December, boom. That's where I want to project. This is where I want to be when I do my cash flow for January the next year. 150, I want that to be my starting point instead of 120. So this is just our projection based on what we think we can do on a daily, monthly basis and how that ends up being for the year. So over the course of the year, if I keep the initial $50,000 on hand, which is what we see right here, and if I add the cash to it at the end of the year, I would have $1.657 million in the bank. Here comes the bad news. We're not going to be able to keep that amount of money in the bank because it's going to cost us money to run the business. And so specifically, when I come down here and start looking at paid outs, purchases that I need for merchandise, other purchases that I need for supplies and things like this, when I start factoring in wages, when I start factoring in payroll, outside services, supplies, repairs, advertising, all this litany of lists right down here, we'll start to see that total dwindle. And it's okay if you get to a situation where this top line ends up being in the negative. A lot of businesses realistically start out their first year in the negative. That's fine. And this, like I said, this is just for an example to kind of give you guys some guidance. And so that's perfectly all right. And so as you go through, you might be asking, how do I approach identifying, how do I put my purchases in or gross wages? Start thinking about what it's going to take. If you have to get out a list and say, okay, if I'm selling hamburgers, what do I have to purchase to make that happen? So if I'm doing $4,000 a month in sales, how many burgers of that do I think? How many hot dogs? What do you think my cost per item is going to be? You have to break that stuff down. Think about how much condiments you're going to run through, how much soda and other things. So think about those types of things, and think about any other supplies that you might need. Think about how many people you're going to have helping you. How much is that payroll going to charge? Don't factor in yourself yet, because there's a line for that at the bottom. But once you figure that out, go ahead and enter that information, and then you'll see these numbers adjusting over time. And so, if you get one number for the wages, you're going to see, if you get one number for the purchases, and you see your sales are going to increase, month over month, you're going to have to also increase your purchases to keep up with that. So keep that in mind. I'm going to take a quick time out on this video because I need to. I'm running close on my time limit, but I'm going to post a second video right behind this one to just give you a few last minute guidance on this. So hang on one second.